Happy Chinese New Year, everyone! It's that time of year again, the Chinese New Year, also known as the Spring Festival. It's the most important festival for Chinese people around the world. But the festivities are not limited to the Chinese community. People of many ethnicities and backgrounds join in to celebrate this vibrant tradition. This is China Africa Talk. I'm Gao Junya. While working in Southern Africa for several years, I made some unique memories celebrating 6 Chinese New Years there. For example, in Mauritius, the only country in Africa where the Chinese New Year is a public holiday, the festival is widely celebrated. The festive atmosphere extended far beyond Chinatown or Chinese communities. Everywhere I went, there were restaurants, hotels, and shops adorned with Spring Festival decorations, from paper cutting works to lanterns. One of my Mauritian friends, Seesaghur, has deep connections to China. He spent nearly 20 years in China, first as a student and later as a government official. He traveled far and wide in China for his professional and personal interests. He participated in Chinese New Year celebrations in places like Liaoning, Fujian, and Chengdu. Each experience allowed him to immerse himself in unique customs and traditions. In this episode, Hans shares some of his experiences and also gives us an insight into how the Chinese New Year is celebrated in Mauritius. And Hans, first of all, could you briefly introduce yourself and your experiences of working and living in China?
Good morning, Ms. Gao. First of all, I would like to thank for giving me such an opportunity to say some words in margin of the most important festival in China, the Chinese New Year, also known as the Spring Festival. I've been living in China since, in fact, my first trip to China started in 2003, in November 2003. And then from that first trip, I moved to China in 2004 to study Chinese language. So I applied for a university in Wuhan University, and I started my studies in Wuhan in 2004, in September 2004. And from that time, I stayed in Wuhan University to do my bachelor's, my master's, and my PhD.
Wow. Yeah.
So altogether, I stayed in Wuhan City, Wuhan University for 13 years to do my whole university studies. Further to that, I went back home in 2017. And then in 2019, I was sent to China to open the National Trade Office of Mauritius, the ADB in Shanghai. In 2020, we had COVID, so I could not go back. But then in 2021, just before Chinese New Year, I was able to travel to China, and I did my quarantine in Guangzhou, and then I did my second part of my Chinese New Year in a working arena, because at that time I was sent to China to work and I was not a student anymore. And then I stayed in China until just recently, January 2024, and now I'm back home in Mauritius.
All right, you went back to Mauritius last January, and you've been with us for, let's say, almost 20 years, huh? When you add them up, your study life and also your as an official for the Mauritius government.
Yes,
Yes.
back and forth, almost 20 years.
And how many spring festivals have you spent in China?
Frankly speaking, I would not be able to say how many I spent, but I spent around, let's say, 18 years altogether, being a student, a traveler, discoverer, and also an official of my government in China. So I have had different experiences in celebrating Chinese Spring Festival, being with friends, being with classmates, being with locals, being in a small village when I was traveling, or working environment when I was celebrating with people who I work with.
Yeah. So there must be huge transformation that you've observed for China's development. And can you share with us your observation in terms of the celebration of the Spring Festival? Some of your observations and your experiences that, maybe your memories that are unforgettable.
Uh, Actually, I would like to share about how I experienced Chinese festivals in different parts of China.
Mm.
I don't remember which year it was. I think it was in 2007. I'm not very sure. I was in the northern part of China, in Liaoning,
Uh-huh.
and I had the chance of celebrating Chinese New Year there with some people I met in an ice festival who were retired police officers. I got the chance to celebrate a different kind of Chinese festival with eating dumplings, of course, in the north of China,
Mm.
jiaozi, and where taught me why people in the northern part of China like to eat dumplings because the dumpling shape resemble ancient Chinese money, symbolizing wealth, which I didn't know when I was in Wuhan because in Wuhan I was celebrating Chinese festival with my classmates, my friends who were just gathering and like eating food, and it was more a university area where people just enjoy and have fun. It was more a student way of having Chinese festival. So when I went to the northern part, I realized that everywhere in China, each region, like northern, southern, have different way of celebrating Chinese New Year. And it was different in my hometown too, because we do celebrate Chinese New Year in Mauritius. And then I went further on to discover, and I also went to Taiwan, where I celebrated Chinese New Year in Taiwan, which was much more about being in family and giving envelopes, hong pao, and everything. I went to a very specific place in Guangxi. It's called Pinyang. I don't know if you ever heard about it, but I heard about this festival and I wanted to go and see how they celebrate Chinese New Year.
Uh,
And there's a festival there called Baolongjie, which is Baolong Festival, which means Firecracker Dragon Festival, if I'm not wrong. And this was a very different experience because in this province, which is an autonomous region,
mm-hmm.
and in this county, they actually take firecrackers and people will walk without shirt and put firecrackers around them and just turn it around.
Wow.
So
Okay, that's
I
something
was,
different.
I was, yes, I was very lucky to be at that time one only non-Chinese, non-Guangxi celebrating this festival with community in Pinyang, and it was really an experience that I remember I will never forget because it's so different. And they will tie firecrackers on the dragons, and there'll be people dancing with the dragons around, and there'll be firecrackers everywhere. But the firecrackers won't be very far; it will be just next to you. You can hear sound, and then I'm already quite dark skinned, so that day with the firecrackers and all this, I became even darker after the festival.
Wow, okay. Thank you for sharing that with me because I've never, heard of this such a special tradition there in Guangxi Zhuang Autonomous Region.
Yes. And another one that I just went recently in 2023. This is another thing that because after this festival, I started to look about over over cities, over towns that celebrate Chinese festival differently because I wanted to see how also the minorities and also the big cities, how they do Chinese festival. So I went to Fujian and I was in a city called Changzhou. There it was a different scenery again, because on the ninth day of a lunar festival, they have a celebration which commemorates the birthday of the Jade Emperor, and the uh, whole community will gather in one huge temple where they will pray and set fireworks all night with some very, very particular way of offering something to a Jade Emperor, which I never experienced to before. And I didn't know this exists until 2022. So I wanted to go and experience it. And it was something very different.
Yeah,
And then
lucky. Uh-huh.
last part I would say was when I was in Western China, such as Sichuan, Chongqing, where we just meet with my colleagues and we'll be eating, of course, over a big hot pot, a spicy one. And with all the friends, we'll be eating hot pot and celebrating the Chinese New Year.
Okay, lucky you, Hans, because if you're so well traveled here in China and you've been experiencing different new Chinese New Year celebrations, be it in northern China, southern China, western China, yeah, even in southeastern China, Fujian province, and the first one you talk about your experience in Liaoning province. I think you really have some courage spending your Chinese New Year there because it's in northern China and it's so cold, especially compared to your hometown, Mauritius.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. I wanted to go further north, but it was too cold, so I stopped in Liaoning.
So you stop there, okay? But it's already very cold. It's already northeastern part of China. It's one of the coldest places here. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's something different and unique when it comes to the weather because in southern China and even in Mauritius, right? It's summertime when the Chinese New Year falls upon, but here in China it would be winter, so it's a quite different experience.
yeah, for sure.
And we also know that Mauritius is the only country in Africa where Spring Festival is a public holiday. As someone from Mauritius and also with this background of Chinese culture, could you explain the reasons behind it?
The main reason is we have to know the history of Mauritius because Mauritius is a volcanic island. Before there was no one living in Mauritius, so we didn't have any natives.
Mm.
And further to that, we got colonized by the Dutch, the French, and the British. And during this period of time, many people from different regions were brought to Mauritius. So we had people from the African continent, from the Indian subcontinent, and many from East Asia, many from China. So the people in Mauritius afterwards they started to work together in one community. When we got our independence from the British in 1968, the new government wanted to give every community, since we are still in a multicultural society, it's a multicultural island, wanted to give every community a public holiday for the major festival.
Mm.
So Chinese being one part of the community, and then the other people from the Indian subcontinent being also part of the subcommunity, other community, we didn't really follow the British way of celebrating, but we made our own, let's say, public holidays based on the different communities and the main festivals. So we also celebrate some festivals that are in India, which are public holidays, and we are from different regions. We also celebrate some festivals that are celebrated in the Middle East, which is a public holiday in Mauritius. So it's not only Chinese New Year, which is a public holiday in Mauritius, but it's just to combine all the cultures that we have in Mauritius so that the people can share during these festivals among communities. So it was a very important thing to do from our first government so that we have a strong nation and then everyone can work together. So we understand each of the culture and have a deep understanding of a Chinese festival, how it's celebrated, and then we understand about the main Middle East festival, main Arabic Muslim one mainly, how it is celebrated, so that we can work together and live peacefully in a multicultural society.
Yes, Hans. It's interesting that you mentioned this because, like I said, I was lucky to spend two Chinese New Year there in Mauritius. I was there actually as a correspondent covering the celebrations over there. And I saw, like just what you said, how people of different ethnicities just join the festivities together, be it let's say, dancing lions or dancing dragons or different parades. They were all there in the streets or in big halls to join different shows just to celebrate this occasion. I think that's something very, needs to be acclaimed from Mauritius. Something that, we can see that this multiracial island society and people are all united and living happily together.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And everyone, all the kids love dragon dancing, which is originally from Fushan. And when I was kid myself, I wanted to go and learn how to do a dragon dance.
Did you do it? Have you tried?
I tried it briefly, but when I found out that let's say, I'm more likely to love Chinese food more than dancing with dragon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you spent last Spring Festival here in China, or you've already spent your last Spring Festival back home in Mauritius? The Year of the Dragon?
Yes, I last year festival I flew just before Chinese New Year and I celebrated Chinese New Year in Mauritius.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's good. So could you please introduce some of the celebrations over there in Mauritius? We just, for our listeners, maybe we need to introduce them more, some of the similarities and differences when it comes to Chinese New Year celebrations.
Last year when I came, it was like I came after 3 years, but my neighbor in Mauritius, who's Chinese origin, is like the fifth generation. His mom and sisters are from Guangdong province, a small town called Major, and so since I was kid, since I was very very young, every year they would come and give us some Chinese cakes.
Hmm.
We have a kind of sharing that for Chinese New Year, your Chinese friends would give you some special cakes, but actually we don't have in China some of them, and it's kind of a Niangao, but it's a
Mm,
different. I think you should have tried it in Mauritius. It's round, brown in color.
okay.
So they came and gave my family these cakes as every year since the last 39 years. And then I actually went to the Chinese embassy reception to attend the Chinese festival. It's a bit different from my childhood because my childhood I would be going to eat at my neighbor's place. And now I would go to attend a festival organized by the Chinese embassy in Mauritius.
Mm.
And then on the day of the Chinese New Year, I would myself light firecrackers. So we have a custom of lighting firecrackers for the New Year and also for Chinese New Year.
Yeah, who doesn't love that, right? Firecrackers. And was there any happy Chinese New Year gala show there in Mauritius? I remember while I was there, each year actually they've invited some Chinese artists to put on shows, be it aerobatics or some magicians would be also been there, dancers, singers. Were there any last year?
Last year there were not so many group. There was only one group, if I'm not wrong.
Mm,
I'm not very sure. I just returned to Mauritius that time, so I
mm,
was a bit busy unpacking. Not very sure, but this year there are different groups who came. There are two groups from Hangzhou who came to perform in Mauritius, and I think there's one group from Liaoning too who just came.
mm.
The Chinese Cultural Center has organized 2 weeks full of activities this year. Now, the Chinese festival in Mauritius has been more and more emphasized by the Chinese embassy in Mauritius. So we are having so many activities.
And personally, are you going to bring any Chinese elements, let's say, to your celebration with your family and friends? Because you're based here for such a long time. And when I say Chinese element, I mean, what you've got from here, be it Liaoning, Guangxi, or Fujian. Are you going to introduce any of that to your friends and family?
I
Firecrackers aside.
actually introduced these two festivals to my family and friends because I think not many people know about how in different parts of China we celebrate Chinese festival differently. I didn't know too, so I came across just by coincidence. Me adding something here would not be much, but maybe since I have family who just came for holidays, we're going to just join together and go to a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to do this very soon.
Yeah, that's nice. And I think the restaurants and even some shopping malls, they are all decorated with the Chinese New Year ornaments. We can see some couplets, some paper cuts, right? Is it still, usual over there in Mauritius this year?
Yes, it's normally like in the town where I live, it's called the municipality of Bobassarosil. Normally, for every festival, the town is going to change its let's say decorations for the festival. So the towns were already lit up with red lanterns everywhere on the street. So it's very nice. So and I would really love that. Maybe in the forthcoming years, Shanghai can bring the famous lunar festival to Mauritius, because in Shanghai, in Yuan Gardens, every year now we organize a huge lunar festival, which is amazing. I would really love that this characteristics is brought to Mauritius, because I think people here would love it if we can organize such a lunar decoration in Mauritius.
Okay, I think we're going to rely on you to facilitate this event.
Yeah, I know, but last year, Shanghai actually, the Yuan Garden management actually did it in Paris. It would be great to do it in Mauritius too, considering that we celebrate Chinese New Year. It's a public holiday, and doing it on an island may bring some different views from people too. So I would love that they actually come.
Okay. Yes, hence you talked about how people of different ethnicities in Mauritius, they come together and celebrate the Chinese New Year together. And we just know that UNESCO actually last December recognized the Spring Festival as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. In your opinion, how do you evaluate this move and how significant is it?
I think that the recent listing of Chinese festival on the 4th December, I think it was 4th December, is an acknowledgement of the main idea that the Chinese festival carry, which is putting family together and sharing. I think this is very important in the Chinese community. And I think that by now, if I'm not wrong, China has a 44 intangible cultural heritage list. I used to check this a lot, so I'm a bit aware about Chinese minorities and then the UNESCO sites, because I wanted to visit all of them. So I also I also learn about this a bit, and I know that when I left China, there was like 42 or 43 intangible cultural heritage, and I have to mention that China is the most enlisted country in the world with intangible cultural heritage, as far as by now,
Yeah.
and which is very great. And I also have to mention something that I would like to share, because talking about Chinese festival and intangible cultural heritage, we actually, being a small island, we also have one. So
Wow.
Mauritius was described in the UNESCO list for intangible cultural heritage, December 2017. It was a Sega, which is Sega Tambu of Roderick Islands, which is an island which form parts of Mauritius. And it mainly celebrates the unique contribution to our cultural heritage. So it's similar with the Chinese New Year acknowledgement, which carries the cultural heritage. But for us, it's about the traditions of our cultural heritage when the island was formed, and it shows an expression of our identity. Since the Sega Tombo is basically made with a rhythm of beating drums, I think in maybe in the near future, if we could organize something, China and Mauritius, where we use the Sega Tombo for beating of drums and having a dragon dancing in Mauritius, would be a combination of these two cultural heritage in Mauritius, would be very nice for a festival.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, all those traditional cultures, they've been there for such a long time. And each and every one of us has this responsibility to preserve it. And so it's glad to see them to be put on the list of intangible cultural heritage so that all human beings can cherish it and also, share its cultural significance.
That definitely, definitely.
Uh-huh. And in your opinion, what more could be done to promote the Spring Festival and other aspects of traditional Chinese culture to the rest of the world?
I think the Chinese diaspora in every country is doing a great job to promote the Chinese festival. I think by now there are no countries in the world which haven't been celebrating the Chinese festival somehow by maybe eating Chinese food, dumplings, or maybe giving hong pao, maybe handing hong pao. So I think there's a lot more to go maybe on trying to promote the dragon dance in our countries because I think this is a very unique way of celebrating a festival, and I'm sure kids will be very fond of it.
Okay. Yes, yes. And are you going to come to China, back with us? Because you've been here for such a long time. Don't you miss us?
I lived there for a long time, so for me now it's like going back and forth. It's very, very normal. So I don't feel like I have really left China because I often have friends who come from China. Actually, today I have a family from Guangdong who's coming, and they are my close friends. So they are coming to Mauritius today, and we're going to spend the weekend together. And so I don't feel that I really have this let's say I didn't cut any connection, so I'm always very close to China, and I have social media. I have WeChat to communicate with my friends all the time. So I think I might be coming back very soon, maybe in July. So if I am going to go for a conference, I will spend a bit more time.
Yes, and I don't know, maybe in your future plans, are you going to be, let's say, engaged in some cultural exchange programs between China and Mauritius?
I would actually love to be basically in a position that I can help to contribute more into the economic and relationship side. So I don't know what's in the future now, but I have good hopes. I have high stakes to be able to move again to China and help bridging Mauritius and China on a higher level in the future.
Thank you, thank you. And we know that this new year will be the year of the snake. So as we enter this new spring festival, could you please share with us some of your thoughts, wishes for the new year?
As we are entering the year of the snake, which is a symbol of wisdom, transformation, and planning, I am certain that this year will bring great partnership opportunities for both Mauritius and China. And I also seize this opportunity to send my warmest wishes to my dear friends who are in China right now. I also know that this year will be full of growth for all my friends and for everyone. And most importantly, I wish good health to everyone.
UNESCO recently recognized Spring Festival on the list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. I think this recognition reflects the true essence of Spring Festival. While it is a deeply Chinese tradition, it has become a global celebration, embodying the spirit of building a community with a shared future for mankind. And that brings us to the end of this episode of China Africa Talk. Dear listeners, do subscribe our newsletter and search China Africa Talk on cgtn.com or Substack to get the latest updates on China-Africa relations. And we'd love to hear your Chinese New Year stories. Send them to us at radio@cgtn.com, and we'll share the stories in future episodes. Thank you for your support throughout the Year of the Dragon, and let's continue to strengthening China-Africa friendship in the Year of the Snake. Happy Chinese New Year!